In this video, you're gonna learn how to create a really cool and advanced drop-down menu with images. By the way, before you get started, if you're here, I'm sure you want to become a programmer, and yes, here on YouTube, you can learn a lot, but one of the best ways to actually improve, especially if you want to turn this into a career, is to take some courses made by experts in the field. Usually these courses are structured in a way that makes it easier for you to learn properly, and I've selected for you some of the best courses and learning platforms. You'll find the links in the description down below, and by using those links, you're gonna help this channel as well. So here I've got the basic HTML structure. I've changed the title, then linked all the style sheets I need. As you can see here, this is the structure of my folder. So the index.html, the main CSS, then a folder with all the images that we're gonna use, and the Font Awesome folder. If you want to know more about Font Awesome and how to structure things, I've made a video on that. In that video, I actually have the CSS folder, and inside I've got my main CSS file and the Font Awesome folder. So keep that in mind, because in this case, I don't have that folder and I've got everything in the root folder where there is the HTML file. So be careful when you're linking the style sheets, because you want to link them correctly. And also I have live server running and Prettier, which is the code formatter. I've made videos on those as well, so I'll leave all the links in the description box down below if you want to check them out. So let's start with our body, okay? And we're gonna add the header like this, then nav, and then a div with the class menu item. Inside of here, I'm gonna add an anchor tag with the home. Of course, here you will have your link, but in this case, this is just the style, so I don't have links to use. By the way, as you can see, I'm using tags like the header, the nav, the anchor tags, etc., and that's really important for accessibility and screen readers. Of course, this is just the basic structure, and you can make this even more accessible, but using the right tags is already a good starting point. So then we are going to add another div with the ID products menu item, and then also a class like this, menu item, okay? Then inside of this div, we're going to add another div with the ID btn, like that, perfect. And inside of here, another one with the same thing, all right. And then also the Font Awesome icon. I'm just going to copy and paste the code like this, perfect. Really important, in this case here, you're going to use the right link to the home page. In this case, you need to use this, because you won't have a real link, because this is the sort of button that will open the drop-down menu. And then down here, another div with the class menu item. As you can see, I'm using Emmet, the abbreviations, and with about like this. So let's see what we've got. So this is basically what we've got. Okay, so now let's go to our main CSS file and let's start writing some CSS. So first of all, I like to sort of reset a few things for all the elements. So that and this. Then the body, I'm going to add the background color, and it's going to be something like that. Then the navigation, display flex, padding is going to be 20 pixels, background color is going to be something like this. By the way, if you like the channel and you want to support it so that I can keep making videos like this in the future, you can do that in different ways, like becoming a member of my Patreon, making a one-off donation, or even using the affiliate links in the description to get amazing things like professional courses to take your programming skills to the next level. If you want to learn more about that, you'll find everything in the description box down below, and thank you so much for the support. Then the class menu item, the color is going to be something like 7. Then the margin is going to be 0, 30 pixels, 0, 30 pixels, something like that. Then menu item, a text decoration, none. Then the color is going to be the font size 20 pixels, like this. And then down here, menu item hover, and also menu item hover A. All right, the color is going to be white. Okay, so let's see what we've got. As you can see, that looks already so much better. Then down here, we're going to add something like products, menu, item, position, relative, like that. We're gonna need that later on. And then also products, drop down btn, it's going to be cursor pointer. And we're doing this because, as you can see, let's actually comment that out. So basically, when you are here, as you can see, the pointer actually changes, but if you're here, it doesn't. So you actually want to have an hand even when you are over the icon. So if you add this, as you can see, the pointer is always the same. All right, so that's just a little thing. And then we're going to add something like this. So products, drop down btn I, which is the icon, transition, transform 200 milliseconds, and then the transform, rotate 0. And this is something that is needed to animate the icon when opening and closing the drop-down menu, and you'll see later on what I mean. Okay, so this is basically what we've got so far. So let's go here. So as you can see, this is what we've got so far. And now let's go back to our index.html file here, and let's start structuring the drop-down menu. Okay, so basically here in the products menu item div, inside of that, we're going to add another div, and we're going to give it the ID products drop down like this. Then inside of this, let's actually do something like that to see. Okay, that's a little bit, that's messy. By the way, as you can see here, I'm just using IDs like products menu item, products drop down btn, products drop down, etc., because I just have one single drop down menu like that. But let's say that you want more than one, so one for the products, one for something else, etc. So in that case, you should use classes. So instead of the ID products menu item, you should use, let's say, a class drop-down menu item. And instead of the ID products drop-down btn, you could use just drop-down btn, a class. And then instead of the ID products drop-down, you could use a class just drop-down, for example. Okay. So in that case, you can just copy and paste the whole block of code, and you just need to change the text, the images, the links, but the CSS will work for all of them, and you can have as many as you want without changing the CSS. And in that case, if you want more than one drop-down menu, you need to change the JavaScript code a little bit because you need to handle more than one menu. So I've actually already made a video about how to create a simple and classic drop-down menu without the images. In that case, I used classes, and I also wrote the JavaScript code to handle more than one drop-down menu. So you basically need to do the same exact thing, use the classes instead of the IDs, and also change the JavaScript code as I did in that specific video. So go and watch that video and just change things accordingly in this one, okay? And this could actually be a good exercise because you need to get things from another video, change the classes, change the JavaScript code. So this could be also a good exercise as well. Okay. Then another div inside of here, class products row. Okay. Because we are structuring the drop-down menu in rows. Okay. And you'll see what I mean in a second. Then inside of this row, we're going to have anchor tags like this. So inside of here, we're going to create a div with the class category like this, and then an image inside of here. So images, and it's going to be smartphones. As I already shown you, I've got all the images in a folder. So I basically got images. I've edited them to remove the background so that I have a transparent background, and it creates a cool effect, and you'll see later on what I mean. So then down here, I'm gonna add also a paragraph, smartphones like this. Okay, so this is one link, basically one element in the dropdown in the first row. So let's add 3. So this one is going to be televisions like this, notebooks, notebooks like this. So this is the first row, and then we can actually copy the whole row like this, because we're gonna have 2 rows in this case. You can have as many as you want. So the second row is going to be printers like this, then it's going to be SSD, hard disks and SSDs, something like that. And then down here we just have a different thing because we want this to be the all categories or something like that. So it's going to be, I'm gonna add categories like this. This is still category. And then here, instead of having the image, it doesn't make sense to have the image. And I'm going to have something like all, something like that. So if the user doesn't find what they actually need to find, they can go and click on all categories, and all the categories will show up in another page or something like that. I'm not going to show the result because it's going to be quite messy, so it doesn't make sense. So main CSS, let's go back to our main CSS. Okay, so let's actually start styling the products dropdown. Okay, so products dropdown, position absolute. As you can see, that's why I've added the position relative here. Then top 35 pixels. The width is going to be 650 pixels. The height 250 pixels. Background color, all is blue. Border radius 10 pixels. And then I've got display flex, just to show you. Then I'm going to add flex direction column. The padding is going to be 0.40 pixels, 0.40 pixels, like this. Box shadow is going to be 0.2 pixels, 10 pixels, 0, and then the color is going to be RGBA 0, 0, 0, 0.15, something like that. Okay. Of course, the drop-down menu is not going to be responsive, and I actually wouldn't bother to make it responsive. I would probably just have the products link that redirects the user to the page with all the categories, a bit like the all categories link that we've got in the drop-down menu, if that makes sense. Then let's style the row. So products drop-down, products row, something like that, and height is going to be 100%. Then display flex like this. Then align items is going to be center. Okay, let's actually save it. Then we're going to add just a little border products drop down row, and then first child, because I want just this to affect the first child. So border bottom is going to be 1 pixel, solid, something like that. Here, of course, I'm using first child because otherwise I would have a line even after the second row, which is also the last row, and it wouldn't look good. In this case, I only have 2 rows, but if you decide to have more than 1 row, then you should do this differently. Maybe you should set this border bottom to all the products rows, and then target the last child and set the border to 0 just for that child. By doing that, you'd have separators between the rows, and you wouldn't have the border under the last row, if that makes sense. Okay, perfect. If you're enjoying the video, show me your support by clicking that like button and also subscribe to the channel as well. I'm gonna post a lot of other videos like this and you don't want to miss them. Then the products drop down the links, because basically the image and the text, etc., are all sort of inside the link, so they are all clickable basically. So align items is going to be center, justify content is going to be left, then width 33%. Why? Because we've got 3 elements in a row. So if you want to add more or less, you need to change this accordingly. So 33, 33, 33. I know that you might want to do something like 33.33 or something like that, but it doesn't make a lot of difference. 50% because we've got 2 rows. So we're going to do that. If you've got more rows, you need to change that accordingly as well. And then the font size, it's going to be 16 pixels, something like this. All right. And then let's actually give something like products, drop down, category is going to be display flex, then align items, center, justify content, left, and color is going to be black. Perfect. Then let's actually do something like this. So category, first child, padding left 20 pixels, then more categories, category like that with 100%, then paragraph, padding left 10 pixels, and then the more categories, paragraph with 100%, text align center, because this is the one with all categories, the link without the image, etc. And then the images, height 50 pixels, and then products, drop down, have a text decoration, underline, something like this. So let's actually see what we've got so far. By the way, if you like the channel and you want to support it so that I can keep making videos like this in the future, you can do that in different ways, like becoming a member of my Patreon, making a one-off donation, or even using the affiliate links in the description to get amazing things like professional courses to take your programming skills to the next level. If you want to learn more about that, you'll find everything in the description box down below, and thank you so much for the support. So this is basically what we've got. So as you can see, this is the drop down. As you can see, when you hover over the links, you've got the little underline, okay? You've got these images, and I actually removed the background, so you've got this cool effect, all right? But now though, we need, of course, to find a way to open and close it, right? So as you can see, if you click here, you just have this like that, but you don't have the real drop down when you click on the button, etc., etc. So let's first hide it. So up here, instead of display flex, we're going to do something like display none. So as you can see, you don't have that when you open the website for the first time. Then down here, we're going to add this thing. So products, menu, item, open, products, drop down, display flex. So basically here we're saying that if the products menu item, this one, has the class open, then the products drop down will have display flex instead of none, and we'll be able to see that. Then we're also going to go up here and do something like this. So we're going to copy this like that, but we're going to add something like this. So you can actually copy that from here. Okay. So, and we're going to have this thing here. So transform, rotate, like that. So basically now we're saying that we want to rotate the little icon when the products menu item has the class open. Okay. Well, of course, now we need to write the JavaScript code to add the open class when we click on the products link. Okay. So let's actually write the JavaScript needed to do that. So down here, we're going to do something like const products btn document query selector, and I'm going to actually target the products drop down btn, then const products menu item. It's going to be document, query selector, products, menu item, like this. Of course, I'm writing the JavaScript code here, but you can have another file, okay, its own file. Then products drop down btn add event listener, click, then usual arrow function like this. If the products menu item class list contains open, then I'm going to do something like products menu item class list remove open, okay, something like this. As I said earlier, of course, here, if you were to have more than one drop-down menu, you would have to do things a little bit differently, because you would have a class instead of the ID. So instead of query selector, you would have to use query selector all, and then you would have to use for each and look through all the items and then add an event listener to all of them, etc., etc. As I said, go and watch the other video where I explain you how to create a simple drop-down menu, because in that case, I actually used classes and instructed the JavaScript code a little bit differently to handle more than one drop-down menu, as I said. So try to see if you can get the information from that video and apply it to this specific project. This is a great exercise, in my opinion, because you're not just copying things, but you're trying to apply them to a different project, okay? Then, else, products menu item class list add open. So basically here we're saying when we click on this button here, let's call it button, if the element has already the class open, that means that the drop down menu is already here. Why? Because in the main CSS here we've got the menu with the class open, then flags, otherwise we've got none. So if the products menu item has already the class open, then the dropdown is already on the screen. So we need to remove the class open so that we go back to display none and the dropdown menu is not shown anymore. All right. But if the element doesn't have already the class open, then that means that the dropdown menu is not visible and we need to add opens to make that visible. Okay. We also need to add the event prevent default up here. So up here, right? We need to add the event and then event dot like this. And this is needed because since we are clicking on a link with the hash sign as the href, so here, as you can see, we're clicking on here, right? And we've got the hash sign as the href. So when you click on that, the page would be scrolled to the top. In this case, it's not important. But if you have a fixed menu like the one I made a video about, where the navbar is fixed and scrolls down with the page, in that case, as soon as you click the link, then the page would scroll up to the top and the drop-down menu would be shown. But this is not ideal, right? Because you want the page to stay where it is at that specific moment, right? So for example, if you are halfway down, you want to see the drop-down menu and the page needs to stay halfway down, right? If that makes sense. So in this case, by adding the event prevent default, we are preventing this from happening. So basically the page stays where it is and it doesn't scroll up to the top. Okay. So let's try this and then we'll see another important thing. So let's save it. Okay. So basically now if you click on here, as you can see, the icon rotates, which is really, really cool in my opinion. And then the drop down menu is shown. As you can see, if you hover over the links, you can see this little underline, which is really, really nice, but there is a problem. So you would expect to be able to close this drop-down menu by clicking outside, but as you can see, it doesn't work. So we just need to address that because otherwise you always need to click the button to close it and it's not ideal. Okay. A user would expect to be able to actually close it by clicking outside. So let's go back to our HTML. So down here, we're going to add something like this. So document dot add event listener, always the click like that, and then here products menu item class list remove and then open. So here we're saying whenever we click outside, then we want to close the drop-down menu by removing the class open. Okay, so let's try that. I'm clicking, but nothing shows up. So why? This is something to do with the event propagation or event bubbling, which basically means that if you click on child element, then the event will bubble up and all the parent elements will get the click as well. So in this case, even the document itself. So when we click here, we send the signal to open the drop-down menu by adding the class open. So this is triggered, but then the event bubbles up and it reaches the document itself. So this gets triggered. So basically we add the class open and then we remove the class open straight away. This is really, really quick and we don't even notice it. So luckily there is an easy fix, which is adding stop propagation to the first event listener. So up here, we can do something like event stop propagation like that. Okay. So this basically stops the event from bubbling up. So the click doesn't actually reach the document. So this is triggered, but not this one because the event just stops in here. So now that should work. Let's actually try to see that. So let's see. Perfect. Then if we click the button again, that's fine. So let's try to click outside. As you can see, that works as well. So really, really cool. And the drop-down menu is closed even if you click inside of here. I just want to mention that. If you click here, for example, the drop-down menu is closed, but that's not important because basically when you're here, you want to click on one of those links or you click outside. And if you click on one of those links, for example, let's say printers, you click on here, the drop-down menu disappears, but you wouldn't even notice it because basically you will be redirected to the printers page. So it's not a big deal in my opinion. Perfect. If you're still watching, I'm sure that you're going to enjoy the video you see on the screen as well, so go and check that out. Don't forget to check out all the links in the description to take your programming skills to the next level. Like the video if you liked it and subscribe to the channel as well, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.